The youngest Jackson sibling is pulling back the curtain and spilling some piping hot tea on the Jackson clan, specifically her big brother Jermaine, and how his long-standing jealousy and betrayal may have played a role in sabotaging Michael Jackson's life and legacy. That's right. According to close insiders, Jermaine was never quite able to stomach Michael's level of success. And despite being part of the iconic Jackson 5, Jermaine allegedly carried resentment toward Michael for years, resentment that reportedly boiled over into betrayal, selfishness, and even shady attempts to gain access to Michael's estate after his death. But that's not even the whole story. In addition to his alleged backstabbing, reports have painted Jermaine as someone who lacks personal boundaries, especially when it comes to women. In fact, some of the stories are so disturbing, they've rocked the Jackson fan base to its core. Let's break it down. Now, on the surface, the Jackson family has always been presented as music royalty. A powerhouse group of siblings raised under one roof, bound together by their love of music and their tireless work ethic. But behind the scenes? It's a completely different story, one filled with jealousy, betrayal, power plays, and heartbreak. It all starts with the sibling dynamic. Jermaine Jackson was born in 1954, while Michael came along in 1958. Just 4 years apart in age, they grew up practically side by side. They also grew up in a house run like a boot camp. Their father, Joe Jackson, was infamous for his strict discipline and demanding nature, especially toward his sons. The Jackson kids didn't just wake up as superstars. Their success was crafted, rehearsed, and pushed to the brink under Joe's watchful eye. Joe initially formed the Jackson brothers, featuring Jackie, Tito, and Jermaine. But once Michael and Marlon were old enough to perform, they joined, and the group evolved into what the world would know as the Jackson 5. In 1968, Joe struck gold when he landed the boys a deal with Motown Records. It was a huge break. Within months, the Jackson 5 became household names. Their first 4 singles shot straight to #1, an unprecedented feat at the time. They were young, gifted, and the hottest sensation on the planet. But behind the glitz and glamour was a darker truth. Motown controlled everything, from the music they performed to their appearance and image. They were essentially puppets for the label, with no creative control and barely any financial compensation. Despite generating millions in revenue, the Jackson 5 were only receiving 2.8% in royalties. Imagine being on the cover of every magazine, performing to sold-out arenas, and still going home with less than a fraction of the profits you generated. That kind of exploitation breeds resentment, and it's where the tension between Jermaine and Michael began to grow. Now, early on, Jermaine was one of the group's lead vocalists. But as the group evolved, it became clear that Michael was the star. His voice, charisma, and presence were unmatched, even as a child. While most of the brothers seemed to accept this shift and continued to support the group dynamic, Jermaine reportedly didn't take it well. According to LaToya Jackson, the tension wasn't subtle. She openly admitted that Jermaine had always been jealous, not just of Michael but of anyone in the family who found success outside of him. Jermaine, of course, denied these claims. In interviews, he's brushed it off, insisting that there was no jealousy because they were all successful. But insiders say otherwise. When the Jackson 5's contract with Motown expired in 1975, the brothers decided to leave the label for Epic Records, where they'd finally gain creative control and better royalties, 20%, compared to Motown's measly 2.8%. It was a no-brainer. But Jermaine shocked everyone by refusing to go. He stayed behind at Motown. At first, people thought his decision was influenced by his marriage to Hazel Gordy, daughter of Motown founder Berry Gordy. But the truth ran deeper. Jermaine allegedly wanted to distance himself from Michael's shadow and prove he could succeed without his younger brother stealing the spotlight. Instead, he isolated himself from his family and launched a solo career, which, to be blunt, never reached the heights of Michael's. And just when you think things couldn't get more toxic, here comes betrayal number 2, this time involving their younger brother Randy. Randy had been in a relationship with a woman named Alejandra Oaziaza. They had 2 children together. But after their split, Jermaine swooped in and started a relationship with Alejandra. And yes, you heard that right, his brother's ex. Not only that, he married her and had 2 more children with her, creating a mind-bogglingly complicated family tree. To say Randy felt betrayed is an understatement. It was one of the most personal wounds a brother could inflict. And the fact that Jermaine reportedly neglected Randy's children, even after bringing them into his home, only added fuel to the fire. Their messy family dynamic spiraled into legal battles, drama over child support, and even more estrangement within the Jackson family. But if you thought things peaked with that drama, wait until you hear what happened after Michael's death. Michael Jackson passed away in 2009, and his will left his estate to his 3 children and his mother, Katherine Jackson. None of his siblings, including Jermaine, were included in the will. That decision sparked major tension, and Jermaine reportedly led the charge in trying to dispute the will. He and a few other siblings signed a letter accusing the executors of manipulating Michael and claiming the will was fake. The court didn't agree. The will was upheld. Katherine remained the guardian of Michael's children and their inheritance. But Jermaine still wasn't satisfied. He allegedly tried to pressure Katherine to give up control of the estate, picking fights with her in an attempt to undermine her guardianship. Eventually, the court saw through the motives, and Jermaine backed down. But the damage had already been done. He had not only alienated himself further from the family but also hurt the one person Michael trusted the most with his children, his own mother. Fast forward to 2023, and Jermaine's name made headlines again, this time for something even darker. A woman named Rita Barrett filed a lawsuit against him, alleging that he sexually assaulted her in 1988. According to her lawsuit, Jermaine showed up at her home uninvited and forced himself inside before allegedly attacking her. She described the encounter as terrifying and accused Jermaine of sexual battery and negligence. This wasn't just a one-off accusation. There were murmurs that Jermaine had a history of being inappropriate, with multiple women describing him as someone who didn't respect personal boundaries. When the story broke, it left fans, and even members of the Jackson family, stunned. Through it all, Janet Jackson has been quietly observing. As the youngest sibling, she watched her brothers rise to fame and fall apart, sometimes because of external pressure, sometimes because of internal betrayal. She adored Michael. Their bond was unshakable. They shared a rare connection that only deepened as they both navigated stardom. Janet has openly said that Michael was one of the few people in the family she could fully relate to and trust. So when Michael died, she was devastated. And watching her family fall into chaos after his death? That nearly broke her. Now, years later, Janet is speaking up. Not to fan the flames, but to finally tell the truth. To set the record straight. To shine a light on the parts of the story that were hidden for so long. Because behind the music, the glamour, and the headlines, there's a story of deep-seated pain. And Janet, it seems, has had enough of pretending everything is fine. So, what do you think? Did Jermaine's jealousy and resentment go too far? Was he trying to rewrite the Jackson legacy to center himself? Or was he just a man who couldn't handle living in the shadow of the greatest pop star the world has ever seen? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's talk about it. And as always, if you thought this tea was hot, wait until you check out the next video.